I didn't notice the shift at first. Thanksgiving always had a kind of predictable noise to it. Cutlery, overlapping conversations, my grandfather repeating himself just enough that people smiled instead of correcting him. So when he said it, it didn't register as anything unusual. "Glad you're enjoying the college fund we set up." I blinked, not dramatically. Just enough to stall my brain while it tried to place what he meant. What fund? It wasn't accusatory. If anything, it sounded like I was trying to help him finish his sentence. My dad coughed, too hard for someone who hadn't been drinking anything carbonated. My mom didn't move. She just paused, fork halfway to her mouth like the signal had been cut. Across the table, my little cousin leaned toward me, her voice too soft for the room but loud enough to land. "Wait, you didn't know?" That's when the noise disappeared. Not literally. Plates still shifted, someone poured water. But it all moved to the background, like I'd stepped out of the room without leaving my chair. I looked at my dad first. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He picked up his glass, set it down again, adjusted his napkin. Small, careful movements. "There's no," he started, then stopped. My grandfather frowned, confused now. "The account," he said. "We started it when you were a kid. For school." I waited, just long enough to see if anyone would correct him. No one did. "I paid for school," I said. "Part-time jobs. You know that." My mom finally spoke, but it came out too quickly. "We helped when we could." It wasn't an answer. It was a patch. And suddenly, things I hadn't questioned before started rearranging themselves. The way financial conversations would stop when I entered a room. The vague answers about timing when I asked about support. The insistence that I needed to be independent even when I was barely holding things together. None of it had felt malicious. Just inconvenient. Until now. "Where is it?" I asked. My dad let out a breath, like he'd been holding it for years. "It's not that simple." That was the first honest thing anyone said. No one raised their voice. No one stood up. But something had already broken, and everyone seemed to understand that trying to fix it in that moment would only make it worse. Dinner continued. Somehow, people spoke around the gap, not through it. I stopped asking questions. A few weeks later, I sat in a small office with a financial advisor my grandfather had quietly arranged for me to meet. He didn't come himself. He just gave me a name and a time. The advisor didn't hesitate. "The account existed," she said, sliding a folder toward me. "It was substantial." "Was?" She nodded. "Withdrawals began about 8 years ago. Gradual at first, then not." I flipped through pages I didn't fully understand but didn't need explained. The pattern was clear enough. "Augurized by?" I asked. She held my gaze for a second before answering. "Your parents." There it was. Not a misunderstanding. Not miscommunication. A decision. "They had legal access at the time," she added carefully. "There's no dispute on that front." Of course there wasn't. I thanked her. Took the folder. Left. No confrontation followed, no dramatic reckoning. By the time I got home, I already knew how that conversation would go. Denials softened into justifications, framed as necessity, maybe even sacrifice. I didn't need to hear it. Instead, I started making quieter changes. Calls I used to answer immediately, I let ring. Visits became shorter. Then less frequent. When my parents asked if something was wrong, I told them the truth in the simplest way I could. I just see things differently now. They didn't push as hard as I expected. Maybe they knew there wasn't much left to argue. Trust doesn't collapse all at once. It thins, stretches, becomes something you can see through if you look closely enough. I still go to Thanksgiving. My grandfather still repeats himself. But now, when conversations shift as I enter the room, I don't wonder what I'm missing. I assume I already know.